Hey, good morning. This is my tips and tricks video for the Intex pools. Could be the 18-foot pool or whatever. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. The sun's just starting to come up. And the first thing you notice on here is all these stains, okay? These will just come right off with a washcloth. But what's going on was that I keep my pool a little bit higher than this standard outlet right here. So as you can see, I put this little piece of 1-inch clear poly tubing in there that I got at the hardware store, then a 1-inch hose clamp at the bottom. And what that does, if you look, there's your water level, and see it's above where this little cap would be on your pool. And so because I run my water a little bit higher than what this would allow, it doesn't leak anymore. So this was the cap up here that originally sits down into here, and the water level just kept running out. And so you can see that's why I have all these calcium stains here. It took me a while to figure out what it was. I didn't realize that it was that fitting that was leaking. Okay, and in the top of that fitting, just a little piece of rubber, you know, a little float valve, so when the water goes up higher than that, it pushes the little rubber up into the top and closes it off. But the problem is, obviously, because you can see my water level, it doesn't close it off, so you got a constant leak there. Now this didn't happen when I first bought the pool, and I took the rubber piece out 3 or 4 times and cleaned it. It just kept getting to me because it would always be leaking and this and that, and so the quick easy fix was just to extend the pipe up here. Probably right now the best fix I've done on this pool is that one right there. It eliminates the need for me to having to pull that little fitting apart, take the little rubber, you know, float valve out of there, clean it off and put it back in just to have it come around and leak again every time the pool shuts off. Because what this is an air breather. It sucks air in, so it aerates the pool. Okay, so when the pump's running, there's no water in here. It's just doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And that's blowing the air, blowing the bubbles out, so you got your aeration going on. Okay, so what I did was, I took a screwdriver and I pried up this little piece. You can see it's got marks on it from having it pried up before. It's got little holes in there for the aeration. And I put a couple rolls of, couple wraps of Gorilla Tape on there. I put a couple wraps of Gorilla Tape down here on the bottom. Then I just put the 1-inch plastic poly pipe over the top of that. And it works good. Really, one of the best things I bought is a solar blanket. It really makes a difference in the water temperature. It takes it up 15-20 degrees, but you have to have it on right side up. And all it is, it's a giant piece of bubble wrap. That's all it is, you know. But if you have it turned upside down where the bubbles are facing up, it doesn't do anything because it doesn't reflect the heat back into the water. It just reflects it back up into the air. So when you have it turned the right way like this and the sun's hitting it, it heats up the top, reflects the sun and the heat down into the water, and it's good to go. But right now, what you're looking at, the bottom number is a temperature, and the water is 73 degrees here in the morning. It's only 70 degrees outside, so the water has gone down. Once the sun comes up, it'll start heating this up. I'll show it to you later. It's only 8 o'clock in the morning right now. Okay, we've got 82.4 for the temperature on top. I've got about 82.5, 82.4 on the bottom because we've had the pump running all day, so the water's all mixed up nice. So you're not going to get the different reading like I do sometimes. But 82.4 right now, which is really swimmable compared to, what was it, 73 this morning. You know, this thing really did come up, and that's because this blanket right here. So it was a little breezy outside, so I wasn't sure if we'd be able to hear it. So I took the reading just now at approximately 4:28, 4:30, and it was what, 82.4, you know, 83, somewhere right in that area. And so we're looking at a 9-degree rise from 8 o'clock this morning with the solar heater on, the solar heating blanket. Wow. Yeah, it's a big plus, especially when you want to go swimming in the afternoon. Because 73 degrees this morning, man, that was, you know, would have been okay. But definitely a lot rougher than 83, 10 degrees, 9 degrees higher. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Just thought I'd throw this on here, let you see the difference in temperature that blanket makes, man. It really does make a big difference. So another shot of the solar cover. I tried rolling it up and that kind of stuff to get it off there, but the easiest thing to do is just, you know, take your time, fold it over, and just drag it off real gently. What I found is that they really don't last that long. This one's been on about a year, and it's just starting to split up. You can see spots where some of the bubbles have popped and that kind of thing, but you know, I'm not that gentle with it. And the other thing I want to mention is screens. For when you're getting the stuff out of the pool, you want the finest mesh screen that you can come up with. But anyway, so yeah, do yourself a favor, pick up the finest screen that you can buy. And you know, we live out in the sticks, so I buy the stuff off Amazon. They deliver it for free. Another thing I did was, because the kids are in here splashing, or we are, whatever, the water comes up and goes out of the pool when you have the water level higher. What it'll do is go through these holes, and you can see here these yellowed ones. This was flex tape. It is nowhere near as good as the clear Gorilla Tape. The other ones that you see around the pool are the clear Gorilla Tape, and it's lasted over a year without any problem. I don't even have to replace these, where with everything that was the flex tape, I'm gonna have to go ahead and pull it off and put on the Gorilla Tape in its place. Now you can see it just peeled off, didn't last. Made for a great patch on a little patch down inside at the bottom of the pool, but other than that, the flex tape really didn't serve any purpose, where the Gorilla Tape just shines. So as you can see from the rest of my pool, the Gorilla Tape lasts, and it does a good job. Put this around your pool, it saves you water, because every time it splashes, it just splashes up as far as the holes and then just runs out. So it gives you an extra 6 inches of water height, you know, as far as splashing and stuff. I still keep my water, you know, down a couple rings, but you know, there are days I want to fill it up real good, and we go from there. Now let's talk about vacuums. First, I use this Intex self-propelled vacuum, you know, 90% of the time. The only time I ever use this one here is when I'm going to do a real final quick cleaning. Okay, so all you got to do to clean this, you pull it out of your housing here, and then just dip it in your bucket, and it comes out clean. Set your stand right on top of the bucket. Use it as your table. And then fit this back in. And then put it back on, and you're ready to go. The very first thing I do before I start vacuuming is I backwash the pump. Right now it's on filter, which is how you're going to have it regularly. If I'm going to use the other vacuum, the handheld, I'll turn it to waste and let everything just come out and, you know, avoid the pump and the filters and everything else. So anyway, all you got to do, turn this over to backwash. Right there. Start the pump. With me, I have it running through hoses over here to my exit. And you can see it's got a little bit of opaque color in there. It's not too bad. Then I let it run for like 30 seconds to a minute. And then I come back over, and first you gotta shut the pump off before you change the valves. So just reach in, push the button down. That's it. And then the backwash is done. Now we gotta put it on to rinse. And what rinse does is it levels out the sand inside your filter, you know, and cleans everything else back out. And it also goes out the discharge hose, which is this one right here. And then you got to turn the pump back on. Then it'll show you this stuff and comes into here and got sucked back up in there, and then it just goes out my hose and out the gate and down the street. Once again, I'll let that sit for, you know, 15, 20 seconds, you know, just to make sure that everything's all nice and level. This is something you'll find yourself looking at all the time, especially when you're vacuuming. You want to watch and see if it goes up into the yellow. If your vacuum starts slowing down, it means you have something plugged up. Okay, that's good. It's probably been 15, 20 seconds or so. So I'm going to turn that off. Come back up here. Put this back over the filter. So every time you turn on your pump, you also have to start your salt water pump, you know, which makes your chlorine. We'll go into that later. But every time you turn on or off the pump, it resets it. So you want to do the same thing with your saltwater system, you know, or whatever else you might have on there. So right now I've got my saltwater system unhooked because I've been making this video and I just don't need to have it plugged in. But now I'm going to go ahead and plug in the pump, let it run for a couple minutes, and then I'll go ahead and plug in my saltwater system and we'll do a different video on that. Okay, the next thing with a vacuum is you have to screw this little fitting in. And this screen is what gets clogged up by the salt sediment going through here out of your pump and your salt filter. So that's why one of the reasons you gotta clean it every hour. It's not just to clean the vacuum, it's to clean this little tiny screen to keep anything from going into the vacuum and plugging it up. I throw that on there, set that down. Another nice thing about this vacuum is because it's self-propelled, it doesn't really matter where you put it. So because I got the cover on there, just going to throw it in. It doesn't really matter where it ends up. It's going to end up just fine on its own. And then I don't got to worry about filling the hose with water, because as soon as I put it on here, it fills itself. Then it goes to the bottom and takes off. Once again, this is probably one of the best things that I bought, is the solar cover. It's taken it up a number of degrees. We'll come back and check out the vacuum in about an hour, because it'll probably be full of the salt sediment by then. Okay, it's been a couple hours. I'll let it sit a little bit longer for the vacuum. The vacuum is going slow, real slow. It's still moving, but at a snail's pace. I just don't feel a need to show you guys the vacuum, because you can see the vacuum and how it runs in a lot of different videos. First thing you wanted to look at when you come back out here to change it and clean it, though, to know that it's not working right, is the pump gauge. So you can see it's just above the green right there. So it's come up. When it's down in the green, it's showing that the pump's not clogged up. This is showing me that there's a little bit of clog probably in that little screen. So first thing we did was check the pump. The pump looked like it's a little bit clogged up. Second thing we do to change out and clean the vacuum is we got to unplug it. And I just throw the hose up here, or I throw it outside if I don't have a way, and pull it really slowly. Because I don't want anything going back into the pool, or as little as possible. If I pull it fast, more than likely it's still not going to go out because it's got the door on the inside of it. But why lift it up sideways if I don't need to? Lift it up to the water line, bring it up, tilt it a touch, bring out the water. Tilt it the other way, if there's any water in there. Sometimes it's depending on which way the valve's going. I chose the right direction this time, got out of here. Then, without tilting it any farther, because I don't want any more to fall out of the bottom, even with the door closed, I'm just going to set it out on the ground. This right here is the major reason why your vacuum starts slowing down. This starts getting clogged up. It was still moving, so it's not that bad on this one. Then all you do to clean it is just take it upside down, shake it off. Sometimes you can just take your sponge, just hit it real quick. Now you can see it's pretty clean. It's ready to go back in. I do the same thing with this, just rinse it in here real quick. And when you put it back together, you're going to be back at full pressure on your pump. My pump is back down into the green just by taking this off. So this is where the major clog was. Okay, the rest of the major clog is right in here. So I just undo the 4 clips. Take it off. And you can see, I mean, there's water in there still, so. But this is what clogs your filter up and slows it down. All that mud, all that. That's what slows down your vacuum. So we're just going to take this into the water. Switch it off. Run my hand over both sides real gently. Because it's getting sucked in through this side, you want to take your hand and just real gently, not your fingernails, just your hand, just your fingers themselves, run it back over the top of it just to get all the sand back out. And get it as clean as you can, because you're just going to get it dirty again. The cleaner you get it, the better off you are. Same thing with this. You can see all the leaves and stuff in there that it picked up. And the thing is, even though the filter didn't look that dirty, that's because all this sand and stuff that was in here was being sucked up to the filter, because that's how a self-propelled one works. So next thing you know, you just take this. I guess to keep my water clean a little bit because we're on video, I'll dump this out here first and get rid of some of the stuff. And then into the bucket it goes. Quick dip. See, it's clean. And like I was saying, because the door, most of the stuff stays inside, but if you tilt it a little bit too much, it's going to come out. Okay? Set that on there. Throw your gasket back in. Put your filter back in place. And once again, just to show you how it's working, the suction comes from your pump going through the top of the actual vacuum, and it's sucking everything up into this screen. And you can see ones, and you know, they cost $300, $400, $500 that are self-propelled also. And the only difference between those and this one is that those are bigger. This is the Intex one, it's smaller. You got a small pool. Well, hence that means you got to change it out more often. Maybe, you know, some days it might be a half hour if your pool's really bad. And today I let it go 2 hours to let you see what was going on, and it was still barely moving. Okay, then once you got that all cleaned up, dump this out. Take a look, if it's got some stuff in there, pour a little bit of water in there, shake it around, tilt it back out again, and your base is ready to go back together. And back into the pool. Generally I'll come out here every hour as long as I got the vacuum running in there, because I know it's going to slow down and I don't want it overheating the pump. So that's the number one reason you don't want to burn your pump out, by having this self-propelled vacuum hooked on there and having it clogged up and just running it clogged up to where it's not even moving at all and putting more back pressure on your pump. This is the next, one of the most important things to have. You know, a good water timer, you know, for filling your pool up. That way you can just go ahead and turn it on. If it needs 15 or 20 minutes worth, you just go ahead and rotate it to where it says 15 or whatever. Here's a little arrow right here. And just let your timer take it from there. That way you don't overfill a pool. You know, you can just set your timer if it needs, you know, a half hour's worth, you set it that way. And you don't got to worry about it. You know, next thing you know, 3 hours later, you wake up and realize you didn't turn the water off to the pool. You know, you're not going to have those problems now with the timer. That's one of the best tips right there. Put a timer on your pool water inlet. And I just, like I said, I still have the food grade hose on there. I still run it through this water softener, which has been regenerated. So I always put soft water in there, through the filter, through the carbon filter like you saw in the last video, you know, and now it's on the timer, so I won't overfill it, which I did a couple times. And that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. That's tips and tricks on the 18-foot Intex pool, or any Intex pool from there. I do have one more. You know, we put another pool up here this last weekend at a buddy of mine's house, and he went ahead and put carpet padding underneath it. Kind of the same thing as my little puzzle squares that I did. But the carpet padding worked out really well too, so I thought I'd bring that up and mention it also. It's really nice to have a soft, cushy bottom when you're walking across the pool. I know you won't be able to feel it on the video, but hey, take my word for it. The padded bottom, 2 thumbs up. Morning at the Lukens. Got the quail out and doves and birds galore. Karen's got so many bird feeders out there. Now we just like feeding everything.